Don't hide your marriage imperfections. Find a community of trusted believers that are on your team, right? And they're mature enough that they'll speak the truth and love to you when it's needed. So trying to maintain a false front, kind of quote unquote, of perfection will actually lead to disunity in your marriage because you realize you're both faking it all the time in front of everybody. So then you don't want to be anywhere, and it'll set others up for challenges and false expectations of their own in their own marriages. So seek some, wise counseling when you need it or when you're stuck. And don't assume that if you sweep issues and weird patterns under the rug long enough that they'll just go away. Bring them out into the light.
Welcome to the Everyday Disciple podcast, where you'll learn how to live with greater intentionality and an integrated faith that naturally fits into every area of life. In other words, discipleship as a lifestyle. This is the stuff your parents, pastors, and seminary professors probably forgot to tell you. And now, here's your host, Caesar Kalinowski.
I'm here with you, my brother, but I also have your sister Tina, my wife Tina, with us today.
I was going to say, you got a little guest.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on this thing. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Tina's I think, perennial favorite when we have her on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Before we dive in too much, brother, didn't you just get back from you had a little vacation, sort of a working heart, soul
Yeah, it was
care
amazing.
type of time, right?
I was in Jackson, Michigan, of all places. And if you don't remember David McDonald from episode 129, where he was talking about the pursuit of happiness, got to go spend a week with him, led music at his church for 3 different services there. But it was... he just bought this house that's like an 8,000 square foot Victorian home in Jackson, and he's renovating the whole place, and it's got gyms and recording studios and velvet wallpaper with brass ceilings. It's stunning.
It's like Graceland.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Needs the green shag everywhere.
It kind of feels, it's hardwood floors, and they like cut out little emblems.
You ever been to Graceland?
Oh yeah, Memphis.
It's crazy. I always tell people, like, after going to Graceland, it's like the only question remaining is, was the green shag carpeting longer on the floor or the ceilings? There's a lot of it.
There is a ton of it. But no, he bought this, and it's a creative resource center for creatives in the church and people in ministry, and so it was good to be with him
for that. That's going to be great.
Yeah,
can't wait to hear and see and experience the fruit of that and what you guys are kind of building out of there.
That's really
going to be
cool.
Great. Yeah.
Well, hey, today we are talking about 7 secrets to long-term marriage unity, right?
Yeah. We started talking about this a few weeks ago. I was kind of mentioning to you, on one of our coaching calls, because we had just celebrated 36 years of marriage.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. And a bunch of our coaching folks were going like, okay, we got questions for you then. Like, we knew it was a long time, but you've been married longer than we were alive, some of them,
Yeah, pushing 4 decades.
And so so that we kind of pulled together a list and shared it, not like it's definitive or
Sure.
But anyway, we're going to get into a little bit of that today and kind of share what we shared with the coaching, because they did bless them. We thought, well, why not
put on the show? Yeah.
Yeah, why not put on some?
All right, so 3.5. You guys have been married longer than I've been alive, which is awesome.
Don't you just wish I was your dad?
And you guys combined have less gray hair than I do on my single head,
wow.
Which is amazing.
Well, we talked to Kristen; she can shore that up for you.
But I imagine over those 3.5 decades, you guys have probably been through a ton together, from raising kids to buying and selling businesses, and that includes not just a certain industry, but different types, from music to restaurants.
We've done a lot.
Houses. You guys have done ministry all over the world together. So I want to hear a little bit about the backstory. How did you guys meet? When did you meet? How's that go?
We are actually high school sweethearts.
Oh, come on, right?
We met at the Caesar's talent show when his rock band was playing at the talent show, and I was instantly in love.
Funny.
Now, I've seen the pictures of Caesar back then, and that was love. Yeah.
So I was in a band called Chain Reaction.
Okay.
And we applied for the talent show. And that year, the teacher who was running it decided she didn't want to do a standard talent contest, because that was, it was like, then there's losers and there's winners.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly, because we're going to win. Anyway, said, no, your band will play, but what you'll do is you'll be the band that plays for all the other acts, because we're going to mirror this after the Donnie Marie show.
Okay.
The Osmonds.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how to play anybody else's music. We could barely play our own. You know what I mean?
Sure.
A couple songs. We were just kids, So we said, no. We're not doing that. We're not backing anybody up. That's not who we are. We're not that good, and we're just going to do our stuff. And she was like, well, you can take your chain and react somewhere else.
Oh, Wow.
She
got
tried
on
to
ya.
shade us, but then we got to do the show anyway, and
They
that's
did it.
Oh.
Pink satin, black boots, the whole
yeah.
9 yards.
Sometimes you got to work. It was closer.
Is
to
that when you knew Tina? You're like,
lavender.
this
That was
guy,
when I
he's
knew.
mine.
I did actually meet him before the pink satin came out, but
But that locked it down.
oh man, that and the long blonde hair.
She told her best friend that night.
I did. I actually, it's one of the few times, and I will say this in all seriousness, that where like I feel like God actually spoke to me.
Wow.
And I heard like somebody was speaking in my ear, this is the guy you're going to marry. And I was turned around and told my best friend, I said, this is the guy I'm going to marry. And she said, what? You're 16. You're not going to marry
You
anybody.
said this 11 times this week.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But, and I had just met him. So it
I
was
like
kind of
to
weird.
remind her of that a lot when she wants to doubt
Yeah.
my leadership. No, I'm just kidding. So
remember
we're going to
God
jump
told you.
way ahead. So we have done a lot of stuff. I think we've owned 17 businesses together.
Something like
I
that.
kind of dream these up. Then Tina runs them.
That's awesome.
Then we sell them. Okay. And then we have 3 grown children. And, a lot of the long-term listeners know this. But, yeah, we have 3 grown children. Our firstborn, Caesar 4,
Yep.
who is 30 years old. And then he's got his own son, Caesar 5, just awesome. And then Kristen,
Yep.
and who has a grandson, Patton, right?
That's right.
And another one on the way. She's got a little girl
Just saw the photos yesterday. Yeah,
cooking
it's
along
so awesome.
in there, right? And then Justine, our youngest, our little bird, who's
Who's
not
not
yet.
married yet.
Yeah, she's not married yet, but working on that, right? So anyway, so we have been together for a long time, and you're bound to learn some things,
Yeah.
especially if you stick this long and you still like each other and have fun. And then, and our life too is it's probably a bit too much together in some ways because we're best friends and we work together and we work from home and we coach together and of course then we vacation together and
We do spend a lot of time together, for
Yeah.
sure.
more than ever.
Maybe too much. Let's just say I sent Caesar on vacation by himself last year with his best friend. So
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes we need
Sometimes you
It's
got
good.
to,
and
yeah.
that's some of the things we've learned
Time
too. Is
together,
you do
time
need
apart.
some me time sometimes, or non as his team likes to refer to as non-Caesar time. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
So one of the things we were talking about off air was like there has to be some sort of pattern of things that you guys have helped, or things you guys have found that have helped you over the 30 plus years to help you find and also maintain unity throughout your marriage.
Yeah.
And you guys were saying there was like 7 that you've kind of over the recent couple weeks really kind of honed in on. Would you mind sharing, like talking through those a bit?
Yeah, we got asked, like I said, by some of the coaching folks, like, hey, what are some of the things? And we said, well, I don't know. So we were having coffee one morning. We started talking about it, and we said, ooh, we should write that down. Oh, we should write those down. So then by the time we got done writing, we had 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a biblical number. So we didn't mean to. And we'll share them real quick. They're not necessarily, like I said, like these astounding things, but they've kind of added up to, 36 years of marriage and being on the same page for the most part. So
Sure.
here they are pretty quickly. So first thing is consistently doing date nights.
Yep.
Like really kind of trying to hold that as sacred. Not that we never miss or, we have 36 years of, times 52 date nights or something like that.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of misses.
But
sure.
we've had more solid runs and strings of doing date nights and meaningful date nights. And we can even put in the show notes, like I've got a little mini teaching on how to have an awesome date night with your spouse, really.
Yeah, because a date night is not a night where you go to dinner and sit in a movie and don't talk to each other and then get in an argument about bills and, kids and
No, it's
who's
very
doing what in the
intentional.
morning. That is not a date night.
Your date night is not going to get diapers at Costco either.
No.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, hopefully not mostly. You know what I mean? And we know some people said, like, well, our last date was at Costco and we got a lot of free snacks and then went home and sat in the driveway for an hour because the kids didn't know we were home. It's like, well, it beats nothing, but it's not exactly the goal. The goal is really to dream a little bit, to have your hearts open towards one another, to kind of
To connect.
Yeah, to connect and see what's going on. So date nights, that's a big thing. I'll tell you, it is phenomenal now to watch our 2 married children, Caesar and Kristen, consistently adhere to doing date nights.
Yeah.
And we are often, as the grandparents, the ones that can afford that for them by watching the babies.
Sure.
So date nights, that's been a big one. If you're not doing date nights out there, I just want to encourage you to do that. Quit making the excuses. It's not about money. They don't have to be expensive. You can always find babysitting if you think ahead. Swap it out. Do trade outs. Whatever it
It
takes.
doesn't have to be at night. It could be a breakfast. It could be a lunch. It could be at home after the kids go to bed, as long as you're really very intentional about what you're doing with your time and how you're connecting.
Yeah. So next thing is we have from pretty early on and pretty broke on in our marriage, which is still today. We took vacations together, Tina and I, without the kids.
Okay.
We kind of got into a pattern when they were pretty young of taking a week a year, if we could, 4 or 5 days minimally, but a week a year where we didn't take the kids.
Yeah.
Just
And
going
that-
without him.
Yeah.
That really, we had a few years from the time that we had our first until the time that we'd had our third where we really didn't get those vacations. And by that time, I think my head was about ready to explode.
Yeah.
You know, we'd had a lot of little family time vacations, but we start to realize we needed more than 2 hours on a date
Sure.
to connect and to relax. And
Or you know how it is when you go on vacation with the kids. Loads of fun, not very relaxing.
Yeah,
a lot
never.
of work.
Not necessarily a lot of heart work with you and your spouse. And so
Sure.
we started doing vacations without the kids. And some of them were very, very low budge. Other times we just caught a killer deal on a cruise and had the worst room on the boat. We didn't care because,
Yeah.
it was all the meals are included and we're in,
Yep. You're good to go.
Which, by the way, is actually some of the cheapest vacations you can ever
Oh,
take.
we
is
love
a
them. Yeah.
cruise.
They're the best.
Yeah.
They are, unless you have some crazy boat fear, which you don't really need to, anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, vacationing without the kids has been a big thing throughout the years.
Yeah, at least 1 week a year is great. If you can set that as a goal, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
And the
cool.
reason we say a week is because, if you could say, well, there's no way we're going to get a week this year, well, then try to do a long weekend. But
Yeah.
for us, it took, because we were running businesses,
Sure.
it took a good 2 to 3 days just to decompress
Yep.
enough to actually start to enjoy anything and wake up and talk and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to get past feeling like we had to talk about problem stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
you know,
makes sense.
So often with parenting, everything you talk about when the kids aren't sitting there is all the problems with the kids and this thing at school and this bill and how are we going to afford braces and all, for all that. And so just like with date nights, it's not about that. Don't solve problems. Don't, same with the vacations. We tried to not make them our cleanup, for all of our problems in life. We tried to let's go have fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always time to
Reconnect
clean
as
stuff up.
friends.
A lot of
Yeah.
blessings in life. Let's rehearse that kind of stuff. Third one.
Road trip dreaming.
Yeah, road trip dreaming. We'll have to explain what we mean by that.
Yes.
So when we would do either work trips or car trips with the kids and vacations and different things like that, we found, we didn't intentionalize it at first, but then we did start to intentionalize it. That when we would do these road trips and the kids would be either, headphones in the back watching a movie or something or sleeping, we had our best conversations about the future. Like
Oh,
the way
wow.
we call them road trip dreaming, because we would just be talking and stuff would be on the radio. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, what have you been thinking about work lately? Or what have you been thinking about church lately or ministry? Or,
Yeah.
and it's like, I've been thinking this, me too. And we would just kind of dream. And it was kind of those times that open road kind
Yeah.
of thing. And we would find that we did our best sort of what ifing and is God saying this? And let's start praying more about that together. And just kind of thinking about what could be next for us as a couple, as a family, for careers, all that. It's our time to dream a little bit,
That's cool.
It was dreaming. It was also just kind of connecting with the Spirit. What are you hearing from the Spirit? What's God telling you? And
Sure.
and then oftentimes it was great because we'd find that we were very much on the same path. Like God was speaking to us in very harmonious ways, and that
Something we hadn't spoken about to each other.
Sure.
We found out not only have we not, but we should and we need to, and we just did. But you know what? We're actually got us on the same track or the same page.
Comes out on road trips. Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
it did for us a lot.
cool.
You guys ever experienced that?
Yeah, actually, just Saturday we did Rainier, 7 hours of driving around the whole thing and up top and down. It was the same thing. It's I was telling Kathleen. She said, I remember being a kid and my parents wanted to road trip all the time and we hated it as kids. But now the older we get, we're like, no, it's so awesome.
Yeah. So we're trying to get a road trip. Last week we were going to do a 3-day down to go see the redwoods or something.
Yeah.
And the week just didn't afford
happen.
it. Yeah, it didn't.
It didn't
happen.
work.
No. So, but we're kind of feeling it now after sharing these on coaching.
Time to go.
Time for some road trip dreams.
Go.
All right. Next one is that we noticed looking back over our marriages that we do a lot of debriefing of situations, and I'll explain what I mean in a second, and sort of closing the loop on things, meaning after we would do a vacation or after we would do some sort of a training together or a ministry thing or have, say, a staff meeting or
a party at our house.
Sure.
Or
open
the
table.
vacation.
Yeah, or whatever. We would sort of do a debrief. Hey, what did you think about last week? And that conversation that we had with the kids, or we had everybody over this week from the neighborhood. And what do you think's going on there? With so and so, they seem to be leaning in, and they're awesome. We're loving them. And or what do you think we could do better next time? Or why was I stressing then? Or why were you stressing then? So
Sure.
we found that when we're doing bigger things that require some planning and effort, and they could be the kind of things that you tend to worry about people's perceptions or how they went or
Sure.
all that. We would do some debriefing and kind of close the loop on that stuff. Like, okay, well, next time let's try this. Or, you know what, I'm going to be more considerate about that and try to help better, or shut up more, or I don't need to stress about that now that we've talked about it, or whatever.
Yeah.
But instead of just sort of going event to event, to thing, we found that we've been pretty consistent and intentional about sort of debriefing, big and small. They don't have to be big old things, but we just went on a trip the other day with some friends in the neighborhood. We kind of debriefed it after we got home.
That's cool.
And it was just kind of a way of going, how did you experience it? And how did you? Okay, great. All right, where are we going? All right, good. So
Yeah.
spending some intentional debriefing and sort of closing of the loop on stuff in life that we co-labored in. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I think it builds trust and understanding and less fear for the next one, or like we're not doing the next one.
Yeah, sure. Puts a little closure on it.
Yeah.
All right, number 5.
Okay, so the next thing is times of prayer, both together, but also separate, kind of seeking the Spirit's voice in things.
Okay.
Sometimes things that we talked about on our road trip dreaming, and we're like, well, I don't know, but why don't we pray about that? And this is sort of the big Christian answer, right? But golly, you got to be praying. You get to be praying as couples. If we're one flesh and our marriages and our families are the biggest picture of the gospel that we have, then that God's given us, then praying together and seeking Dad for how he wants this marriage to look, or where we're going in ministry, or how we spend our finances, or our parenting.
Yeah, it's amazing when you pray together and then also pray separately about those same things, how God can really move your heart to, from like maybe feeling like, oh, we're not supposed to do this, to, no, we really should. And I have a peace about it. And we've done some kind of crazy things in our lives where I was like, I don't know.
Is God really asking us to do this or move
how
there
could we
or
possibly
give this
pull
away?
that off?
Or
And yet then the Spirit's, given us the go ahead and the peace, and we've done it and it's worked. So
There's nothing like, talk about marriage unity. That's what we're talking about. There's nothing to bring greater marriage unity that when you discuss something, go away and pray, come back and you go, what'd you hear? And that's exactly what the Spirit said to me. Right? And sometimes it's different. I'll give you an example. Sometimes we don't hear the exact same thing, but it still gives us peace. We'll, like, say we see a need, and God's putting both on our hearts, like, I think we should give to that, or we should try to help those people, or this situation, or whatever. Let's go away and pray and see what we come up with for a number. More than not, we come back with the same exact number.
Really?
Sometimes, because I think Tina's more generous than I am, she'll say, "Oh, I was thinking this much." I always go with her.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's like, well, what's probably closer to the heart of God? Generosity,
Yeah.
And hopefully we're both hearing and being generous. But yeah, I'll tell you, together and separate prayer is really good for finding unity and confirmation. And when you hear the same thing separately, you feel pretty confident. Like, okay, seems crazy to the world, seems crazy to the kids, seems crazy to me. But you know what? That's really kind of the fleece.
Yeah,
Came
absolutely.
back
It
and
is.
Yeah.
So,
All right, 6.
okay, so
This is one that I really, I think we don't do enough, and as married couples, we probably don't get enough, is individual time alone. We kind of tend to feel like, oh, if we're married, we should be doing everything together as a married couple, and we need date nights, and we need, and yes, all of that's true. But you got to remember that you were first a person before you were a half of a couple and a mom or a dad. And so you need to continue to kind of feed into yourself and take care of yourself. So having times when you go and have a fun time with the girls or the guys, where you do something, take a class, do something that it kind of feeds your soul.
Yep.
kind of like you getting away last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like there's family sacrifice, maybe that's a strong word, but
Sure.
they're giving up a week of Dad being gone, and there was some expense involved that comes out of the family budget and all that. But man,
Totally
I know
worth
it
it.
fed into you.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
it built into you big time, like body, soul, and spirit.
got a tattoo while I was there. Come on. It was that.
Really?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you about that later.
My goodness.
So I kind of feel like this is like the airplane level of health and fitness where, like, when the masks come down, you always have to put your own mask on before you can help anybody else, because otherwise you're probably going to pass out and everybody's going to die, So
That's a great point.
For a mom or dad, when you're in charge, you tend to take care of everybody else. Well, this is you taking care of you.
Yeah.
And it's really important.
Having some fun, feeling like, hey, the family can invest in mom having some fun or taking a class.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Completely.
Or dad. Yeah. And I just want to tell everybody listening, like, you should not feel guilty about that. That's not like a luxury. Jesus went alone, right, to be alone, went away to be alone a lot.
Yep.
We don't have tons and tons of media on how he spent his spare time. But if you were to put most chicks and check marks in the corner, it'd be, well, he went alone to be with dad, or he went off to be alone, it would say. So you get to be.
Yep.
And like Tina said, I think that building into yourself, then now you have health and, awareness to bring to the marriage and therefore your family and all that.
Absolutely.
Okay, last one is, and there again, like I said, these aren't in any kind of perfect or even decided order, but we've done quite a bit of, gone to quite a few marriage conferences together.
Yeah. Huh.
It's like sometimes I've suggested to people like, hey, read a good marriage book every year as a couple, right? That's a powerful thing to do, and it's important. We both came from families where we did not see good, healthy Christian marriages modeled at all. Both our families, our parents ended in divorce, though mine got remarried to each other later. That's different episode. But we didn't know, and it was one of the few things we knew.
The only thing that we knew when we got married is that we had no idea how to be married or how to be parents.
Huh.
It's the only
and
thing.
how to be Christian parents and how to stay married and how are we going to not ruin our kids and all that.
And we agreed because we'd seen what divorce had done to both of our families, that when we got married, that was it. So whatever it took to figure out, we had to just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the same with us.
So we did a lot of marriage life conferences,
Yep.
And we would go like sometimes year after year and then skip a year and go and take other couples and do all that kind of stuff. So like,
those conferences gave us so many foundations and opportunities to discuss things and new tools to put in our tool belt and
communication skills like crazy. And I think some years, I'm trying to remember back, I think some years we couldn't afford to go. So we hit up like our small group or whatever, you know, or our parents or everybody we knew. Like, hey, we really need like a hotel for that because it's an overnight, or has anybody got points or something we could, get for a room or,
Absolutely.
Because it was important enough to humble ourselves and get after it. And then, you know what? And I'll tell you what, people in your community and your family, they step up and honor that kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, we're trying to get, your own siblings going like, yeah, we all need something because mom and dad didn't show us a lot,
Yeah.
And I know some people like, well, I came from a really good family. You don't have perfect parents.
Yep.
And you're not them. So get out and learn, right? Some stuff. So that was one of the things too that kind of helped us learn how to be married and communicate well and parent and all that. So those are sort of 7 things we had kind of come up with that we shared that were like, I think these things have all and still do contribute to us being on the same page and having unity.
After all those years,
Yeah.
So when it comes to unity, like you were just talking about, if you're anything like Kathleen and I, you'll find that at certain points in your life, there's this disunity where it seems really hard to get back
Just
into
you
sync.
guys. You're the only ones.
So we wonder sometimes. But like it's hard to get back on the same page. And so my question is, how did you guys get unstuck in those seasons where you just couldn't find yourselves working things out and walking together?
This really does happen to everybody. We have patterns and well-worn grooves and things that you've learned from your parents.
Or we kind of hide and go like, ooh, that's a little icky, so let's just not fix that or talk about it because it's a little painful.
So when you find yourself in that situation, seeking out like an older, married couple or a wise counselors, that
don't be
counseling,
embarrassed by that stuff. Like no one knows how to have a perfect marriage. Trust me. I don't care even if you came from a great family. No one was born knowing exactly how to do this. And if you get stuck, the dumbest thing is to let your pride or something get in the way of getting what you need. And so we've been to counselors a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. And we never hid it from our kids.
Sure.
Because I don't want them to think, hey, mom and dad have this perfect marriage. Well, no, don't do a lot of stuff we did,
Right.
And when you do get stuck, get help.
Yeah.
And I can remember one time pastoring, and T and I come out of a marriage counseling session. And in the waiting room for the next couple coming up is a couple that I'm an elder to,
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, how's it going? We're like, working on some stuff like us too. I'm like, good on you.
Yeah, we're all doing it together.
Yeah, so that's how we would get unstuck when we just really had prayed and maybe road tripped on it and talked to some friends and we weren't getting it resolved. Get a little counseling.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a little help.
Or a lot, yeah.
And I'll tell you, having adult kids now, hearing them, our youngest daughter just said recently, one of the coolest things that she learned from us is that it's okay to not have all the answers and to seek out help.
That's cool.
And
keep
she
learning.
loved the fact that we just kept learning
Yep.
and trying new things and going to going to counseling or whatever when you needed it. So
As you're talking there, Tina, I was thinking about how certain I am that being part also of being in a local community or missional community or some sort of small group has also been encouraging and helpful in providing unity for me and my family. I'm sure it was the same thing for you. People can kind of call you out when you're out of sync or when you're being an a-hole. How important is it to live visible and transparent lives with those you're in community with? And how have you seen those communities in your past help you guys when you needed it most?
I think it's ultimately important. If you're not the same
Hard,
person,
because who wants to be transparent with the bad and the ugly? But the good part,
Yeah.
yeah, it is hard. It's hard to not to be vulnerable, to not be perfect, and to be like having an argument with your spouse when you're supposed to be leaders in the community.
Yeah.
It's hard to be there, but by the same token, we are modeling what it looks like to have an argument, to not agree, and to either resolve it or not.
And sometimes you have to seek forgiveness, and you go like, well, since we kind of barfed on each other in public, then we're going to also like repent and seek forgiveness, publicly.
Yeah.
And so that's discipleship in action, like really, because who gets to see that, right? And who gets to experience that? And then, or doing it with your kids and all that too. And there's been times, and they mark us, where people have come to us in community, and oftentimes much, younger people than us, and go, hey, just wanted to talk to you about something. Last night when the community was together and we were having dinner or whatever, the way you spoke to Tina came off with pretty hard edge. I don't know if you felt everybody kind of go yee, like, and I don't know if something's going on or it was just the way we heard it, or how you doing and why, like what's what with that. And so, like, wow, that was sinful, or I was thinking this, but it came out sinful. That was absolutely wrong. And I did talk to Tina, or I need to, or whatever. So those are actually really sweet times.
Sure.
And what we found is that life in community and transparent community seems to deal with things way sooner than wait until the wheels are coming off a marriage. And all of a sudden, like, hey, where's so-and-so? Oh, they're not in a group anymore. Why not? Oh, they're getting divorced. What? It's like,
Yeah. What happened?
Well, so if your community doesn't have that kind of transparency, please strive for it and model it. And that's how you get there, is you just model it. You be vulnerable. You admit when stuff's wrong. You come back and go, hey, last week, maybe none of you picked up on it, but my wife did. And I want to confess something that was sinful. And I want to ask for your forgiveness here. So it's a big deal. You're right.
Good.
It's a big deal.
Man, if you haven't given us enough already, we are now moving towards the big three, which is the free download you get by going to everydaydisciple.com/big three. And if nothing else, that's the takeaways that we want you to walk away with from this episode. So, Caesar, Tina, what are the big three for this week?
Well, Tina, why don't you give us the first one?
Wow.
Here we go.
I would say that the first one is, don't expect that you somehow intrinsically know how to have a great marriage and close unity as a couple. Like, almost no one was raised in a perfect home with perfect parents who experienced and modeled a perfect marriage. And marriage takes a lot of work for everyone, but it's worth the effort.
It's so worth working on it and doing that. The legacy we get to leave, and the picture. Yeah.
That's cool.
That leads right into number 2, is that marriage is a huge picture of the gospel and the foundation for our families, and I think for all of society, really.
Sure.
Marriages. And you can trace a lot of muckety, weird, broken stuff right now back to marriages falling apart in families. So what your kids and others outside your nuclear family see and experience lays a foundation for how they perceive God and life in his kingdom. It really does. Like, think about that. Let the weight of that land on you a bit. And so how we respond under pressure, or when we make mistakes, or what we do when we're not on the same page as a couple, or how we seek and grant forgiveness, they're all opportunities to grow and model life and marriage in light of the gospel.
That's good. All
Okay.
right, number 3.
I'll grab this one
Go
too.
for it.
So don't hide your marriage imperfections. We said that a while ago, but this is one of the don't misses. Don't hide your marriage imperfections. Find a community of trusted believers that are on your team, right? And they're mature enough that they'll speak the truth and love to you when it's needed. So trying to maintain a false front kind of quote unquote of perfection will actually lead to disunity in your marriage because you realize you're both faking it all the time in front of everybody. So then you don't want to be anywhere, and it'll set others up for challenges and false expectations of their own in their own marriages. So seek some, wise counseling when you need it or when you're stuck. And don't assume if you sweep stuff, issues and weird patterns under the rug long enough. Let me say it again. And don't assume that if you sweep issues and weird patterns under the rug long enough that they'll just go away. Bring them out into the light, okay?
Yeah.
So just let your redemption show.
It's a lot, man. Thank you guys so much for doing this. Again, you get those for free as a downloadable link by going to everydaydisciple.com/big3, and it'll come right away to your inbox. If you haven't yet joined our Facebook group, you can do that by going to everydaydisciple.com/Facebook, and you can join the conversation that Caesar and I have with everybody in that community each week.
Love it if you join us. And thanks, Tina, for being here today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, she's off to a show, a concert tonight. So this is gonna be, she's out of here.
Go get her rock and roll on tonight.
I'm going to go have fun and invest in myself with my friends.
Without Caesar. Okay.
Without Caesar.
Woo! All right, honey.
Thanks for joining us today. For more information on this show and to get loads of free discipleship resources, visit everydaydisciple.com. And remember, you really can live with the spiritual freedom and relational peace that Jesus promised every day.